WRLR 90.3 FM every Sunday evening from 6 to 7 p.m. for the Zen Wisdom Show. Thank you.
Well, I always knew I was crazy for you. How'd I know you'd thrill me so? Hit for the sizzle.
Welcome to the Dave Mierswa Show, the cutting-edge talk show about legal, political, and current issues. Practicing in both Wisconsin and Illinois, David Mierswa is a leading trial attorney bringing nearly 2 decades of business law, family law, personal injury, and estate planning experience to you. The Dave Mierswa Show, about the people, for the people, and bringing justice to the people. The Dave Mierswa Show, its guests, agents, and WRLR are not rendering any legal advice. All listeners are encouraged to seek legal advice from properly licensed and qualified professionals.
Okay, good morning, good afternoon. It is once again Sunday, 12 noon. Some of you are just getting up. I'm sure some of you have been up super early today. I got some great topics in store, as usual. You have just tuned in to the Dave Mierswa Show. Those of you that have tuned into my show before, you already know that it's going to be a great show. It is 12 noon and it is time to buckle up. It is time for you to get some great food and listen to attorney Dave Mierswa, host of the Dave Mierswa Show. I've been a lawyer for almost 20 years now, and I bring to you over 20 years of in-courtroom and out-of-courtroom experience to this show. This show is a cutting-edge talk show that I bring you cutting-edge topics on legal, social, and political. And if you heard the intro, this show is about the people, for the people, and bringing justice to the people. Let me say that again. The show about the people, for the people, and bringing justice to the people. This is a live show, folks. So sometimes I get it right. Most of the times I get it right. Sometimes I don't, and I just roll on. So this is a live talk show where I do most of the talking. So anyway, those for you that first time tuning into my show, I always like to lay out the format of the show. I always give the intro is done, and then I get into my shout outs. I get into my topic about halfway through. I got to go to break, and you're going to listen to some really good info-packed information there. Then we come back, and I got about 20-25 minutes left in the show. Then I wrap it up about 5 to 1. Okay, let me get my shout outs out of the way here. All right, on May 28th, 2016, not 2017, but this year, that's right, 6:30 to 9:30 p.m., WRLR will be doing a live broadcast with Classic Night Car from Dog and Suds, located in Rawlings Road in Washington Street in Ingleside. Let me say that again. May 28th, which is a Saturday, 6:30 to 9:30, WRLR will be doing their live broadcast, Classic Car Night from Dog and Suds, located at Rawlings Road in Washington Street in Ingleside. And let me tell you, folks, that's a really important date. That's my birthday, so make sure you show up there. And also, let me give another public service announcement here. John Marshall Law School, fair housing rights. Fair housing laws protect your right to choose from the best housing you can afford. If you think you are being denied housing or being treated unfairly where you live because of race, color, national origin, religion, sex, etc., John Marshall Law School Fair Housing Legal Clinic may be able to help. To call them and contact them, 312-786-2267, 312-786-2267, and or reach them email fairhousingclinic@jmls.edu, fairhousingclinic@jmls.edu. And I got to say, John Marshall Law School is a good program. It's a good law school. You know why I know that? You're wondering, how does he know so much information on a Sunday at 12 noon? because my wife went to John Marshall Law School. She is a graduate of John Marshall Law School, and a lot of judges downtown and everywhere around Illinois and the Midwest have graduated from John Marshall Law School too. So it is a great opportunity. If you need help, the fair housing, give them a call. Okay? My other shout outs here this morning are always to animal rescue places that are near and dear to my heart. And one of them is going to be Reach Rescue. Let me take a second here. That every Sunday I like to promote animal rescue. And also, if you are looking for animals out there, instead of going to these breeders out there and so forth, why don't you go to a local animal shelter and adopt a dog or a cat or whatever animal you want? Also, if you didn't know this, around Illinois and around the Midwest, there are other animal shelters that take care of horses and other farm animals. So if you're looking at even adopting a horse or something, people in the city think I'm crazy, but up here in Lake County, where we have a lot of beautiful horses and horse farms and stuff, that is one of the thoughts. So today, if you're not doing anything with your kids and you're just about to go out to eat, why don't you stop by a local animal shelter and teach them what it is to donate money, time, and effort for a good cause. And if you want to do that today, go to Reach Rescue. It's a non-for-profit, non-kill animal shelter located at 1126 West Maple Avenue in Mundelein. Reach Rescue, 1126 West Maple Avenue in Mundelein. And their rescue number, 847-637-5661, 847-637-5661. Also, right next door is their non-for-profit resale shop. So if you're looking at buying some more stuff and you feel that you don't have enough stuff around your house and you want to be a little more cluttered, stop in there. Or if you're just the reverse, you want to give up some stuff, donate it there and get a tax deduction. So that is pretty cool. Okay, so my topics today that you're wondering, when is Attorney Dave Mierswa going to ever stop talking? I don't think I ever do, folks. I think in the middle of the night while I sleep, I keep talking in my sleep. There's one person that knows that, and that's my wife. And she ain't going to give that secret out. Okay, so that was Reach Rescue. Today's topic is going to be estate planning and asset protection. Let me say that again. Asset protection and estate planning. Or let me reverse that. Estate planning and asset protection. And most of you know what estate planning is. Estate planning is that you prepare for your ultimate demise, your ultimate journey to the next plane. Okay, and a lot of you go about your daily lives, and a lot of you forget about this. And you should, if you really loved your loved ones, you really got to tune in today and hear what I have to say, because if you don't have the proper estate planning documents, you're literally treating your family to a disaster. Okay, and I'm not just talking about having life insurance. A lot of you out there think, oh, I got $500,000 in life insurance and that's fine. They'll get all that money. My kids can go to college. That's not true. Okay, that's only one part of the huge equation. Okay, and for you late bloomers just getting up, again, you're listening to the Dave Mierswa Show, and I'm going to be talking today, this week and next Sunday. The topic is estate planning and asset protection. Estate planning and asset protection. Okay. Also, I wanted to make sure that all of you know that all of my shows are now being recorded live. Okay, it's being recorded live, and then I upload it to YouTube. Okay, so all of my shows, again, are uploaded to YouTube in about a day or so after today. And if you want to see my handsome face, or if you missed today's topic, okay, you're probably going to miss a lot of things that I said. This is going to be an information-packed show. This is like going to a seminar on steroids, okay? So I'm going to pack in as much as I can in an hour, but don't worry, I'll be back next Sunday to finish out the topic of estate planning and asset protection, okay? All of my previous shows get uploaded within 24 hours or so to my website, law540.com. 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 So don't sit there and think, oh my God, it's good to take notes, but you're not going to get everything, okay? You can go back to YouTube and just Google my name, Dave Mierswa, 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 and all of my shows are uploaded there, okay? So that's important. So today, you're thinking it's Sunday and I'm spending time with my family, or you're out working today and there is a lot of stuff going through your mind, and today you probably never even thought of estate planning and asset protection. Okay, and you're thinking, why is that important? Well, let me tell you. This stuff is going to hit you right between the eyes a little bit. I got an article here dated April 27, 2016 from Forbes magazine. Again, April 27, 2016 from Forbes magazine. 17 famous people who died without a will. So let me say that again if you missed it. I know some of you are just kind of groggy and waking up. I've been up since 7 a.m. And I got to give, before I get on with this article here, I got to give a great thank you and a great shout out to my wife. My wife was out of town and working hard. She's an attorney and she was out of state. And she got back late last night. We got up at 5 a.m. We drove up to Wisconsin. We saw my mom, 84 years old, and I did a bunch of stuff up there, and my wife helped me, and she drove. And I tell you, I worked on some complaints on the way up. I worked on some other pleadings. I worked on some accounting. On the way back, I did some more work, and while I was up there, she really helped me out take care of my mom. So a big thank you to my wife, Karen. I can't make that possible without her help and her assistance. So a big thank you to her, okay? And also a big thank you to all the moms out there today. Okay, so getting back to this article. 17 famous people who died without a will. And think about which rock star, which pop star recently died. And that's right, folks. That's right. You're right on the money. Prince. His formal name was Prince Rogers Nelson. What a name. Prince Rogers Nelson, better known as Prince. He died recently, and he did not have a will. He did not, it looks like he didn't have any other estate documents and no will. And he just died a couple of weeks ago. He was 57 years of age. 57 and no will. And his sister was the one that filed the document stating that there was no will. And I'm going to get into estate planning and what happens and stuff if you don't have a will. Also, I wrote an article about 3 or 4 years ago that a lot of you think, oh, if I have a will, then I'm going to be okay and my family will be okay. Well, you may or may not be. I wrote an article called Why a Will Could Cost You Your Family's Fortune. Let me say that title again. I wrote an article about 3 or 4 years ago, and this is just for information purposes. And the title of that is A Will Could Cost You Your Family's Fortune. And that is on the resource page at law540.com, law540.com. So look it up and read that. Even if you have a will, you could go broke. And there's so many flaws in a will. And that article addresses all that. So that's pretty cool. So here's some other people out of this Forbes article that did not have a will. First one, Abraham Lincoln, going back to the 1860s. Actually, it was 1864, 1865, I forget, when he took a bullet in the head. Not a real good way to go. But I'm going to get it together here, folks. Abraham Lincoln was the first one. Next one, Martin Luther King, civil rights leader and activist. Here's another one, surprisingly. Actually, it's not too surprising. Jimi Hendrix. And we all know who Jimi Hendrix is. If you don't, that means that you're about 12 or 13 years old. Google him. He is a rock star. Here's Pablo Picasso. Oh, here's one surprising. Howard Hughes. If you don't know who Howard Hughes is, he was an entrepreneur and billionaire, a famous billionaire. And you would think that someone who made billions of dollars would have had the most elaborate estate planning, but he didn't have one. Here's another one, Bob Marley. Oh, here's one, not too surprising, but Kurt Cobain. Kurt Cobain, who was the lead singer and frontman for Nirvana. Tupac Shakur did not have one. Salvatore Philip, Sonny Bono did not have one. He's way back from the 60s. Here's one that is near and dear to my heart. I love this guy and I love his songs. Barry White. Okay, there's another, Stieg Larsson, who's a famous author. Okay, James Brown. Oh, it's hard to believe this guy was so famous, and James Brown was godfather of soul. Steve McNair, he was a former NFL quarterback and Pro Bowler. Nate Dogg, rapper and actor. Amy Winehouse, who was a British singer and songwriter. And believe it or not, this is kind of interesting. Michael Jackson, who is already famous, everyone knows who he is, the king of pop, did not have a will at the beginning. And it couldn't be found later, they discovered a will. And that goes towards having a plan that your loved ones can enact right away upon your death, so they're not hanging out in the breeze wondering what to do next. Kind of like Prince. Prince thought he was going to live forever, and he lived up in Minnesota, and he didn't. And here's the thing, folks. I always believe in a dose of reality, and we're not going to live forever, and you're not going to control when we go. We're not most likely going to anticipate that, so you have to plan for this. So that was a list of 17 famous people that did not have a will. And there's a lot more too. I just pulled it off the internet this morning in preparation of today's show. Okay, getting back to estate planning and asset protection. Estate planning is, you say, what is estate planning? Estate planning is the short-term and the long-term planning of how your assets, your personal valuables, and your personal possessions are going to be distributed to your family and other parties once you are deceased. Okay? And having a simple will and or an elaborate plan may not be enough. You have to also take a look at taxes. You have to take a look at government institutions and what's going on there. You have to take a look at your heirs. Maybe there's some heirs out there, part of your family or not, that you don't want to have money. Okay? So, understanding this, also, let me take a minute here to explain. There's a marriage out there between asset protection and estate planning. It's a marriage. Asset protection is where you use corporate entities to protect your personal assets. Let me say that again. Asset protection is the use of corporate entities such as a limited liability company, a company, a regular company. Here in Illinois, it's called a regular company. There's what's known for tax purposes as an S corporation, and there are a whole host of corporate entities out there. So when I say corporate entities, that means limited liability companies, that means limited partnerships, that means a whole bunch of things. Okay, so again, asset protection is where you use corporate entities such as a corporation, a C corporation, limited partnerships, limited liability companies to protect your personal assets from third parties or third party entities trying to take that money away from you. And what's the common denominator between the marriage of estate planning and asset protection? Protecting your family. That's what it's all about, folks. Also, about 2 or 3, 5 years ago, I wrote a book on asset protection, and I wrote a book on estate planning. And I kind of went back, I updated this last year. So I'll be posting this more on my website in the near future. that some of this you'll be able to download and use as a guide as to your plan. So again, a lot of you think just having a will is going to be enough, and that's just not true. You got to think about estate planning and the marriage between that and asset protection. Okay, here is a quote. I don't know who made this quote. I've been trying to find out this quote for years, but this sums up. If you fail to plan, you are planning to fail. If you fail to plan, you are planning to fail. I don't know who said that. So here's another quote. Teamwork, simply stated, is less me and more you. Here's Theodore Roosevelt on teamwork. The best executive is one who has the sense enough to pick good men to do what he wants done. The self-restraint enough to keep the meddling with them while they do it. Okay, and that was Theodore Roosevelt. In other words, you got to have a team. You cannot go at this alone. Okay, I don't care if you're making 30 grand a year. You can afford at least to talk to an estate attorney, an asset protection attorney. Okay, I'm going to get into a minute what to look for when you're looking for an asset protection attorney and an estate planning attorney. So your team members. And if you're running a small business, this makes even more sense to you, okay? But if you're an individual, you got to have mortgage brokers and lenders and bankers. You got to have a good accountant and specifically a tax accountant, okay? Also, if you're starting out a new business or whatever, you got to have a coach. And you have computer and IT repair and also website and website optimization professionals working with you. And then the biggest one, of course, is your attorney at law. You gotta have an attorney at law helping you with this stuff, folks. You can't go at this stuff alone. All right, another facet to this is you gotta plan for taxes. Everyone thinks, I just go out and get a will and I'm all set. That is not true. You gotta have an accountant, a CPA, that can take a look at the taxes and then come up with a plan that minimalizes your taxes but allows you to protect your heirs and protect you from third-party lawsuits. That's asset protection, okay? So think of this as a big circle, and within this is tax planning as well. Okay, another part of this is that if you really want to set this stuff in the orbit, you got to start planning for your retirement now and talking about Medicare and Medicaid. This is so huge. Medicare and Medicaid are going to be around. They may be bankrupt, but they'll still be around. And Medicare is a social insurance program administered by the United States government. Again, Medicare is a social insurance program administered by the U.S. government, okay? You got to be 65 years or older to get it, and there's a whole bunch of qualifications. So basically, it's health insurance for the elderly. Medicaid is a health program eligible to individuals and families of low income and resources. Okay, so again, Medicare is actually health care insurance. Medicaid is a redistribution program for the poor. Okay, and you have to take a look at that. All right, let's get into a couple of definitions here. What is probate court? Probate court is where you go into a specific court called probate court, and if you have a will, it's called testate. So when you go into court and there's a specific court just for estate planning and people that pass away, it's called probate court. And if you have a will, your estate is called testate. It's called a testate estate. In other words, you testified while you were alive that you had certain parameters that you put in a will or a codicil. A codicil is nothing more than a revision of a will or a trust. And you pass away, but before you passed away, you testified in writing, in other words, in that will, some of the things of how you wanted your estate handled. Intestate means that you did not have a will or some kind of trust, and you have to go through probate court, and there are it's called intestate statutes out there that give guidelines as to who and what entities get your money after all of the bills get paid and all the claims on your estate are managed. Okay, so let me go through the steps real quick. So if you pass away, you don't have a will, you got to go to probate court. And for probate court to be enacted here in Illinois, I believe it has to be $100,000 more in assets. Or if you own real estate, okay, then you must go to probate court. And if you have a will and you have $100,000 or more, or you have a parcel or land worth land, then you must go to probate court. Okay, that's probate court. And that's huge because that can cost a lot of money, that could cost a lot of time, that could cost a lot of aggravation. Towards the end of my show, I'm going to give you the steps in the estate planning, and I'm going to give you 5 or 6 main documents that most people have, most attorneys use in their estate planning. Okay, that's going to be towards the end of the show. The question 2 is, should I hire an attorney? Should I hire an attorney to help me? Are you crazy? Do you take your car, and unless you're a self-trained mechanic or had work in that, you know, you are not an expert in this. And going on the internet and reading is not enough. You got to have an individual that has been trained in this. Okay, whether you call me or whether you call another attorney, I beg you, please use an attorney that has been trained in this area. Okay, so you want to ask them, how long have you been practicing law? How long have you been doing estate planning? Okay, that's fair enough. And then ask them, do you use a tax attorney when you make informed decisions on people's estate planning? You would be amazed. A lot of these attorneys don't. And I'm going to tell you a reason why, too, that having a will is not enough. All right. Let me get into, got about 3-4 minutes before I have to go to break. I tell you, folks, I just get in to this radio show and time just flies. It just flies in the studio here. Okay, I'm going to give you the 5 or 6 main documents that you need for estate planning right now. And then I'll kind of talk about them a little bit. And then we're going to have to go in the break. You're going to have to hear some great messages. Then I'm going to come back. And then I'm going to get into more of the nuts and bolts of estate planning. Okay, what are the 5 or 6 basic forms that you should have in your estate plan? And again, you heard the beginning of my show. I am not rendering any legal advice here. Okay, I am just talking over the air, and I'm educating you on some of the things that you should know about estate planning and asset protection. So again, I am not rendering legal advice, and here's the ultimate disclaimer you just heard. Okay, and folks, you gotta work with an estate planning professional and attorney. Okay, the 5 basic forms. Number 1, a living revocable trust. Let me say that again. There's probably quite a few of you listeners out there writing this stuff down. That's fine. And again, don't get too worked up on this stuff, because I'm going to post this show on my website, law540.com, where you can listen to it over and over again. And then about a day or so from now, this gets posted to my YouTube channel, Dave Mierswa. Google it, and you can listen there many times as you want. Okay, first document, a living revocable trust. An LRT, living revocable trust. The next one is a will. Not just any kind of will, but a pour over will. That's spelled P-O-U-R over will. P-O-U-R dash over will. Pour over will. And the next one is a power of attorney, either a general or a durable power of attorney. Let me say that again. A durable or a general power of attorney. The next one is going to be a living will and or power of attorney for health. A living will and or power of attorney for health. And here is a golden nugget of information, folks. I strive so hard. And I beg you listeners out there to listen to this. And here's another thing, that if you don't talk to me and you talk to any other estate planning attorney Ask them if they use this form. It's called a HIPAA authorization. HIPAA medical authorization. Most estate planning attorneys don't use this form, and they don't hear about it. I ran across this form because I practice personal injury law, and that's where we mostly use HIPAA medical authorization form. So let me give you the 5-6 documents here. Then I'm going to cut the break, and then we're going to come back, and then I'm going to get into what are all these individual plans, and then I'm going to give you the steps that you need to start your estate planning program. Okay, number 1, LRT, Living Revocable Trust. Number 2 is a will, not just any will, but a pour-over will, P-O-U-R, a pour-over will. And then the next one is a power of attorney, a POA, either durable or a general, POA. And the next one, these two are kind of intertwined. It's what's known as a power of attorney for health, that's power of attorney for health, a POA for health, or a living will. Essentially, they almost do the same thing. And then the last one, HIPAA, H-I-P-P-A, stands for Health Transportable Act. I forget all the acronyms then, but it's HIPAA, H-I-P-P-A authorization. Okay, it is about 12:30. I'm going to cut the break here, and we'll be back in a couple of minutes, and then I will dive more into specifically these documents I just talked about. So stay tuned.